All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Nicole, and welcome back to our English class. For today, we will be continuing with our series on English for travel. We are going to tackle a really practical skill for any traveler, which is using public transport vocabulary. That is our focus for today. Whether you are exploring a bustling city or venturing out to see the sights, knowing how to navigate the local buses, the trains, the subways, uh, in English can be a game changer, really. Today, our focus will be on the pronunciation of these key public transport terms. Think about it. You will need to understand what people are saying and be able to ask for what you need clearly. And we will go through the words for different types of transport, ticketing, directions, and even some common announcements you might hear. Now, my goal for today is, very simple. It is to help you feel more confident when using public transport to English speaking areas. We will break down the words, we focus on important sounds and where to put the stress so you can communicate effectively and get where you need to go with ease. All right, let's jump right into it. Let's jump in and make, getting around a breeze. All right, let's immediately have the first set of terms. Okay. These are these are the first set of terms. Let's start with the first one, of course. Bus stop. Again, bus stop. One more time, bus stop. Okay. You can think about navigating a new city. You are relying on the local buses to get around. You'll be looking for a bus stop, right? Which is this is usually indicated by a signpost. This sign will often display the numbers or names of the bus routes that call at that particular stop. Sometimes you might also find a printed timetable showing the scheduled arrival of times for each buses. So in busy areas, there might even be a small shelter to protect you from the weather while you wait at the bus stop. And you might ask the local or anyone who might be knowledgeable already about these things on that particular location. You might ask them, um, you can say, "Excuse me," of course, you do that to soften, to be more polite. "Excuse me, could you tell me if the number 7 bus stops at this bus stop? Could you tell me if the number 7 bus stops at this bus stop?" That's how you want to politely ask or clarify any kind of question you might have. Now, pronunciation wise, bus stop, it really emphasizes both words equally. So, yeah, they are stressed equally. For bus, you make that short sound clear. So, bus. Um, the one you see here, this one, that one is what we call a very short sound. That's a quick sound. If you see that in any kind of IPA transcription of a word, phrase, or even sentences, that's how you say it. It's very quick, it's very short, but it's still clear. So it's like the in cup. It's still clear. Although it's very quick, you say it very quickly, but it's still there. You can still identify it because it's very clear. So here you of course you ensure that you pronounce the final S of the first word so that it can sound distinctly. So bus, you make sure there's really a hissing sound there. For stop, you use that short O, not O, yeah, short O. And how do we pronounce that short O? Oh, uh, almost like an but not totally that. It's like in between O and So that is why stop, stop, oh. So it's a short O sound. So it is more like a oh, oh. like the in pot. And you finish it with a crisp P sound. Stop, stop, stop. Okay. We say the whole term. Bus stop, bus stop. One more time. Bus stop. All right. It's the place for buses. Next, we also have a place for trains, and we call it as train station. One more time, train station. So whether you are commuting with a large metropolitan area, using a subway, or taking longer journey between cities on a regional or national rail line, your journey will begin at a train station. These can range from very simple and manned train stations in rural areas with just a platform and a shelter, to massive, bustling central train stations in major cities with numerous platforms, ticket offices, information kiosks, shops, and even restaurants. That's how massive and busy it is. When you arrive at a train station, the very first thing you will likely do is, check the departure boards to find out which platform your train will be departing from. So, one way to do that, of course, is just asking a staff member. You could say, could you please direct me to platform number 5, for example, at this train station? So you can do that. You can ask for their help, especially if it's your first time and it's a train station that you are really not familiar with, or you haven't tried any commuting with the train stations. It's very important that you go out there, you try to ask, okay? You try to ask a local staff member, most likely. You try to ask them so that they can address any kind of issues or problems that you might have, and that they can help you. All right? So just ask. Okay. The pronunciation of train station, we give clear stress to train, the first word, which makes sure to use the full diphthong. There's a diphthong here. Again, what's a diphthong? It's when a vowel sound smoothly glides to another vowel sound. So that's a diphthong. Okay, here the diphthong is A. I'm gonna highlight it for you. That one. That one, yeah. That one is a diphthong. Vowel sound plus vowel sound. So in train, there's a diphthong sound. So you are most likely making sure to use the full diphthong. You start with an E sound and gliding into an I sound, right? Like the word, like the I in my, hi, something of those things. I know, not really. Oh yeah, I'm sorry for that. That's the wrong diphthong, but yeah, like the A. I mean, like the A in day, may, ray, say, all those words that has the same diphthong for train. For station, the primary stress is on the first syllable stay, stay, which it sounds like the beginning of stable. But be very careful with the second part, Sean, making making sure that it produced that clear sh, a consonant cluster sound, sh. So you make sure it sounds like that, shun. Sean. Well, anyway, in most words, right? I don't know if not all words, but most words that has a spelling that ends with tion, you usually say it or pronounce it as Sean, as in shun. You pronounce it as like that, Sean. So here it's the same case. We say station, that word as station. Okay? Station. All right. Let's say the whole term. Train station. One more time. Train station. Again. Train station. Okay. Next is ticket machine. Now, in many modern public transport systems, especially for trains and subways, ticket machines are a common way to purchase your fare. your ticket, of course. You buy tickets here. These automated devices allow you to select your destination, allow you to choose the type of ticket. Could it be single, return, day pass, etc.? We're gonna be talking about those kind of, those type of tickets. But yeah, you can also here in ticket machines, you can pay using various methods like cash, credit cards, or contactless payments. So it's often helpful to know the name of your destination and the type of ticket you need before approaching the ticket machine. You should still be knowledgeable about that thing before, of course, purchasing a ticket in the ticket machine, because ticket machine needs the information so that they can navigate where is that particular location you're trying to go, and how much fare you should you should put into them, you should give. So there's still some information that you need to be knowledgeable about. Well, you can just if you have like any problems, for example, when it comes to payment, some questions that you can ask would be, you start with excuse me, of course, to soften your entire sentence. Excuse me, do you know if this ticket machine accept credit cards? Something like that. You can ask that one. Now, pronunciation wise, ticket machine, you give stress on the first syllable of the first word, tick. So you ensure you use that short E sound, like the E in bit. So tick, ticket. So the stress is on the tick. So ticket, ticket machine. For machine, the stress is on the second syllable, shin. Okay, which which has a clear long E sound, shin. Now the first syllable ma should be a soft unstressed sound. So again, for the first word ticket, you put the syllable stress on the first sound, tick. Well, it would be on the second syllable for second word machine, shin. So we try to utilize those pronunciation tips. We will get this one. Ticket machine. Again, ticket machine. One more time, ticket machine. Okay. Next is single ticket. Okay. It's a type of ticket, single ticket. So when you only need to travel from one point of another and you have no intention of returning to your starting point on the same ticket, you will purchase a single ticket. This is the most straightforward type of fare. For example, if you're taking a bus from your hotel to a museum and you plan to take a taxi back, you would only need a single ticket. You might ask even the bus driver, um, how much is a single ticket to the National Museum, something like that. So you can do those short questions if you have any problems with regards to um, single ticket. So pronunciation wise, single ticket, you emphasize both on the first syllable of the first word. Make sure that you include the sound there, ng sound, which is a nasal sound at the end. And of course, you use the short E vowel in sing. And then the middle syllable, girl, in single should be a soft, unstressed sound, girl. Okay, girl. Here, tick, again with a short E sound and a clear T at the beginning. You emphasize that also. So single ticket. Again, single ticket. One more time, single ticket. Okay. Lastly, return ticket. Again, return ticket. So if your travel plans involve going to a specific destination and then returning to your original location, of course, you purchase a what we call return ticket, which is usually the most convenient option. It often works out to be cheaper than buying two separate single tickets For instance, if you're taking a train from the city center to a suburb for a visit and will be returning later the same day, you would ask for a return ticket. Since it's my you can save money. No, you can save change for um when you try to buy two single tickets. It's much more cheaper to buy a return ticket. Now, how you can construct the sentence? You might say to the ticket agent, I like I'd like a return ticket to Victoria Station, please. Something like that. Now the pronunciation in return ticket, the stress is on the first syllable re, which has a soft sound there by with of course a clear letter R sound. Now return. So it's basically return. Excuse me. It's basically return, not return, but return. Okay? The stress is on re. So we already know how to pronounce ticket. The syllable stress is on the first syllable T. And there should be a clear T sound there. So yeah, that's how we're gonna say this whole thing. Return ticket. Again, return ticket. For the first set of terms, we've discussed on bus stop, train station, ticket machine, single ticket, return ticket. So to check if you are following with me, of course, we will do a practice drill. Let's start with the first one. Well, yeah, just to shortly explain what we are gonna do, I have provided a sentence for the particular term we have discussed. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is just to repeat the sentence. I know, not repeat, but just to try to read the sentence while I was reading it. So you read the sentence with me. Okay. Okay, everybody ready? Let's start right away. Bus stop. Bus stop. The bus stop is just around the corner. The bus stop is just around the corner. Train station. We need to buy tickets at the train station. We need to buy tickets at the train station. Ticket machine. Can you use the ticket machine? Can you use the ticket machine? Single ticket. Single ticket. I'd like a single ticket, please. I'd like a single ticket, please. Return ticket. Do you want a return ticket? Do you want a return ticket? All right. Let's immediately have the next set of terms, starting with platform number. Again, platform number. When you're busy at a train station or subway station, knowing the platform number is very essential to finding your train. Because here, the departure boards, they will usually list the train's destination and its corresponding platform number. So you make sure to double check the platform number before heading down, as sometimes there can be last minute changes. So you might hear an announcement like the train to London Euston will depart from platform number 7, something like that. So the train to London Euston will depart from platform number 7. Now the pronunciation here, platform number, the stress is on the first syllable, plat, which has, a broad ah sound. Like in father, your jaw is totally hanging, your jaw is totally relaxed. Another stress is on the first syllable of the second word, number, num. So you remember that B sound in number, it is silent usually. Okay, so it sounds like number. But if you can, of course, it's totally fine to also pronounce the letter B sound because you can. It's not totally a silent letter originally. So you can say number. If you're much comfortable with that, that's still acceptable. We accept that. So going back to this term, if you try to consider all those pronunciation tips, this term will be, spoken as platform number. One more time, platform number. Again, platform number. Okay. Next is departure board. Again, departure board. Now, the departure board is your go-to source for up to the minute information about train or bus schedules. Basically, it has, schedules info. It will typically show the destination of each service, the scheduled departure time, the actual expected departure time, especially if there are delays, and, the platform number or gate. It's always a good idea to keep an eye on the departure board. Excuse me. So, yeah, you need to keep an eye for those, any kind of departure board for maybe any changes that might affect your journey. You should you should take initiative to see if there are any changes in your um in your um traveling time. So you might ask a station employee just to be sure. You say, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the departure board is?" You can ask that. If you want to try where the departure board is, you can try asking, "Excuse me, um can you tell me can you tell me where the departure board is?" Something like that. So pronunciation wise, departure board, the stress is on the first syllable de, which has a short e sound, and then board, which is a long o sound, like in more. Now the r in depart has that broad a sound, like in car, and a chore ending sounds like a soft cha with a schwa vowel. So basically, we say it as departure board. Again, departure board. One more time, departure board. Okay, next is underground or subway. Underground or subway. If you're in a large city with a metro system, you will likely use the underground, which is in the UK and some other countries, or the subway, which is more common in the US and some other places. So these are efficient electric train systems that run beneath the city streets, which helps you to avoid traffic, of course. Now, here you will need to follow signs for the underground or subway to find the entrances and stations. So you might ask, where is the nearest underground station, or how do I get to the subway from here? So those kind of things you could ask. The pronunciation for this one, for these ones, there's two words, right? Let's start with underground. The pronunciation for underground is stress on un, which is the first syllable, and then ground. There's a diphthong sound here, ow. So I'm gonna highlight it for you. That one, that is a diphthong. Okay, so ground. For subway, its stress is on the sub, same as underground under first syllable. And then way, there's also a diphthong sound here. Way, yeah, this one. I'm gonna highlight it for you to really see that one. That's a diphthong. So basically, with those pronunciation tips, we get to say underground, subway. Again, underground, subway. All right, next, let's move on to get on. This is a common phrasal verb you will use when talking about entering a bus, a train, a subway car, or maybe a tram. For example, you can say in a sentence, we need to get on this train to reach the airport. Or make sure you get on the number 12 bus heading north. The pronunciation of get on is usually they stress on both words get, which has a short e sound, like in bed, and on has a short o sound, like in hot. So on, you do not say own, but on, short o sound there. Get on. Opposite to this is get off. Just as important as knowing where to get on is knowing where to get off is also, kind of important. This phrasal verbs, it means to exit the public transport. You pay attention to announcements or the signs at each stop or station to make sure you get off at the correct places or place. For example, we need to get off at the third stop after the main station. You could say it as like that in a sentence. Or this is where you get off for the museum. Now the pronunciation is get off. Again, with stress on both words get, which has the short e sound, and off, which has a distinct sound. Oh, like in law, of law. So there is a clear final final FF sound. Off. So we say it as get off. One more time, get off. Okay. For the second set of words or terms, we discussed on platform number, departure board, underground, get on, and get off. Let's try to do a practice drill. It's time to practice. Let's have the first. Same pattern, same process. So let's start immediately. Platform number. Platform number. Our train departs from platform number 5. Our train departs from platform number 5. Next, departure board. Departure board. Check the departure board for any changes. Check the departure board for any changes. Underground. The underground is the fastest way to travel. The underground is the fastest way to travel. Next, get on. We need to get on the bus here. We need to get on the bus here and get off. Don't forget to get off at the next stop. Don't forget to get off at the next stop. Okay, I think everything went well. Good job, everyone. Let's immediately have the next set of terms. Let's immediately start with, I think I'm I think you are not familiar. Some of you might not be familiar with this term. So let's try to add this on our vocabulary discussion for today. This is Oyster card. Oyster card. The Oyster card, it's, a travel smart card. Basically, that's just how we say it. It's a prime example of a travel smart card, which is used for contactless payment on the public transport. That's an Oyster card. In London, you can use it on the underground, buses, trams, and some trains even. You load money into the card and then you simply tap it on a reader at the beginning and end of your journey. So this system often offers cheaper fares than buying single tickets for each ride. Now, many other cities around the world have similar systems with different names. Now, pronunciation wise, oyster. It starts with a diphthong oi. I'm gonna highlight it for you. That one. That's a diphthong. Oi. Oyster. Okay. The second syllable is stir, which has a schwa sound. A relaxed sound, followed by a clear R. Card has a long sound similar to the in father and ends with a distinct D sound. Okay, so we say it as oyster card. Again, oyster card. It's a travel smart card. Next, top up. Top up. You add value. If you're using a travel smart card like an oyster card, you will need to top up the balance when it gets low. You can usually do this at a ticket machines, in stations, at dedicated ticket offices, or sometimes even online or via mobile app. It's a good idea to top up your card before you travel to avoid any delays. Now, when pronouncing top up, you give equal stress to both words. Top has a short O sound like in hot and a clear P sound like in up. So, you try to do those things. Top up, top up. Next is validate. Very familiar word, validate. Now, in some forms of public transport, particularly trams and certain bus systems, you might need to validate your ticket after you purchase it. This usually involves inserting your paper ticket into a small machine on board that will, stamp it with a date and time, confirming that it is valid of your current journey. So, failing to validate your ticket can result in a fine if for a fare inspector who checks your ticket. Now, pronunciation wise, validate, the stress is on the first syllable, val, which has a short sound, like in cut. And the second syllable, date, which has a long a sound, like in say, that's a diphthong. And then the middle li has a short e sound. So, combining all those pronunciation tips, we get validate. Again, validate. One more time, validate. Next, we've already mentioned this one, fare inspector or ticket inspector. Now, these officials are usually responsible for, ensuring that all passengers on public transport have a valid ticket or have paid the correct fare. They may randomly check tickets on buses, trains, or trams. If you are caught traveling without a valid ticket, you could be issued a fine. So be careful with that. You do not, of course, you do not commute without a ticket, and make sure that even after um, an inspector, an inspector is checking, has already checked it, you do not throw it right away. You throw it when you're already at your destination, just to be sure. So yeah, because if you're caught traveling without a valid ticket, you could be issued a fine, as I've mentioned earlier. It's always best to make sure you have the correct ticket and that it has been validated if necessary. Now, when pronouncing fare inspector, the air in fare, there's a diphthong sound there. It sounds like air, right? Hair, so all those things. So the stress is on the fare inspect. For ticket inspector, the stress is on tech and then in inspector, which has a short E sound. So we're gonna say it like this: fare inspector. Again, fare inspector, ticket inspector, all those things. Lastly, next up. Again, next up. Very easy. This is a very common announcement. You will hear on buses, trains, and trams to inform passengers about the upcoming station or stop. So that is next up. It is crucial for you to listen carefully to these announcements, especially if you are traveling to a less familiar destination, usually in rural areas, so you know when to prepare to get off. The announcement will usually state the name of the next stop clearly. So when pronouncing this term, next stop, you give equal stress to both words. Next stop. You say it clearly. Like, for example, we try to separate these two distinct sounds. Let's try to look into next. There's a short A sound here, A sound like in bed. So you might want to try to alleviate the problems of the person. Next up. So stop here. I think you're already familiar. Stop here has a short O sound like in hot, and clears. There's a clear STP sounds. Those letters. So yeah, we say this whole term as next up. Next up. Again, next up. I think this is the last word for this one. We have Oyster card, Travel Smart. Oyster card, which refers to Travel Smart card. When you add value, you top up. When you activate ticket, you validate. And when someone checks your tickets, they are the fare inspector or the ticket inspector. And lastly, when you want to follow location, you can do next up. Again, next up. And it's time to practice. Let's have a practice drill. Same pattern, same process. Okay, let's start right away. I use my Oyster card every day. Oyster card. I use my Oyster card every day. Next, top up. Top up. I need to top up my travel card. I need to top up my travel card. Next, validate. Validate. Remember to validate your ticket before you travel. Remember to validate your ticket before you travel. Lastly, fare inspector. Fare inspector checked our tickets. Fare inspector. Next stop. The next stop is Piccadilly Circus. The next stop is Piccadilly Circus. Okay. All right. Let's have these one. So these are the terms. I'm sorry I wasn't able to edit that, but yeah, this should be public transport vocabulary, not the hotel check-in, but yeah, this is a public transport vocabulary. Let's try to read each one of them. Starting with bus stop. Bus stop, train station, ticket machine, single ticket, return ticket, platform number, departure board, underground, get on, get off, Oyster card, top up, validate, fare inspector, next stop. Okay, very good, everyone. Excellent job. Let's start to appreciate your effort into, sounding more natural in English. So, let's immediately continue. Let's continue with what we are doing right now. So again, these are the first three set of words for under the topic public transport vocabulary. Okay? All right. So before that, I think everything's good. Let's continue with public transport phrases that you might hear. Let's start with this one. Excuse me, is this seat free? So, this is a polite way to ask if a seat on a bus, on a train, or any form of public transport is unoccupied. It's particularly useful in crowded situations. You would typically say this to someone sitting next to the seat you are inquiring about or to someone who has placed their belongings on the seat. Now, when pronouncing this one, you try to stress on excuse, in this with a voice sound, and seat on that one. So we say it as, excuse me, is this seat free? All right. Next, how often do the buses run? How often do the buses run? If you are waiting at a bus stop and haven't seen a bus for a while, or if you're planning your journey, you might need to know the frequency of the bus service. This question asks about the schedule. Are they every 10 minutes, every half hour, maybe? And showering. So, yeah, anyway, when pronouncing this whole sentence, you fall your stress on how, on often, run, which is usually pronounced as a schwa sound, bus has a short O sound, and ends with a C, buses. Okay, so I say it again. How often do the buses run? Again, how often do the buses run? Next, how often do, I mean, already good. Which way to? So this is a fundamental question for asking directions. You will use it when you are trying to find a specific platform, a particular bus stop within a large station, or perhaps the exit. For example, we can say, which way to platform 9? So you try to add details into this phrase. Or you can say, which way to the northbound bus stop? Now, when pronunciation wise, the beginning of which sounds like an E sound, short E sound, like the bit, like bit, which. So, a way, second word, way, it is a clear diphthong, which starts with A, then E, yeah, E, and then Y. So that's the, not Y, but E and I. Sorry for that. I stand corrected. All right. So, you just remember to raise your intonation at the end to signal a question. That's just how we usually ask something. Which way to? Which way to? Next, is this the right bus for? So, before you board a bus, especially in a busy area with multiple bus routes, it's essential to confirm that it's going to be your desired destination. You would typically ask the bus driver or someone waiting at the bus stop. You can ask, is this the right bus for the National Gallery? And then when pronouncing this one, is has a short A sound. This and the both have the voiced sound, voiced TH sound, and then right has a clear diphthong I, like the I in kite. So bus has a short O sound. For often sounds like fur and schwa, you know, linking words, linking sounds. Again, your intonation should rise at 10 because this is a question. So we say it as, is this the right bus for? Is this the right bus for? Okay. Now, let's have the last one. Where should I change? Again, where should I change? So, if your journey on public transport requires you to transfer from one bus or train line to another, you will need to know the correct interchange point. The question here you ask for that information. You might ask a transport worker or another passenger. Say, for example, you can say to them, where should I change for the blue line? Or um where should I change for the festival? Something like that. Okay. When pronouncing this whole phrase or sentence, where has an air sound there? Here, like in hair, should has that short O sound, like oo in wood, and then change has a diphthong. It starts like ah in cat and moving to an I sounds, and ends with a soft J sound or W sound. I no, not W but Y sound. So that's it. We have a diphthong in this one. Okay, I think those are the first set of phrases. Let's immediately do some practices. Here, it's different. I think not totally different, but yeah, what I'm asking you is just to say these phrases or these sentences with me. Okay? You also do that on your own. All right, let's start. Excuse me, is this oh my god, is this seat free? One more time. Excuse me, is this seat free? Again, excuse me, is this seat free? How often do the buses run on weekdays or Sundays? How often do the buses run on Sundays? Which way to the nearest taxi rank? Which way to the nearest taxi rank? Is this the right bus for the museum? Is this the right bus for the museum? Where should I change? Where should I change for the airport? Okay, all right. Let's explore another set of phrases. Here, it's really phrases here. Because earlier, it's more of like sentences, right? But yeah, this is stress. Um, yeah, this is another table, another set of words that we need to emphasize. Let's start right away with a day ticket. A day ticket. So if you are planning on making, several trips on public transport with a single day, purchasing a day ticket can be the most economical and convenient option. And since it allows you unlimited travel on specified services, say for example, in all buses within a city zone, or all subway lines for a 24-hour period, you might ask a ticket office or a ticket machine. How much is a day ticket? Something like that. We can ask that one. The pronunciation is day a day ticket. The first double is a schwa sound. How much is a day ticket? The pronunciation is it's kind of untrust. It's kind of not really giving initiative, but we try to understand that. With those pronunciation tips, we say a day ticket. Again, a day ticket. One more time. A day ticket. Sound more natural? A day ticket. Okay. Those are the terms. We've already done. Okay. We've already done the first one. Let's have the second phrase. A weekly pass. Again, a weekly pass. Now, for travelers staying in a city or for a week or longer and planning to use public transport frequently, a weekly pass can offer significant savings compared to buying daily or single tickets. So this pass typically allows unlimited travel for 7 consecutive days on designated transport networks. So you might inquire at a ticket office. Obviously, that's the first thing you need to do if you are unfamiliar with the place and that you are unfamiliar with the commuting process. Okay, going back, you can just simply say them, where can I buy a weekly pass or something of that sort. Now the pronunciation here, pronunciation wise, the stress is on the weak and pass has a long ass sound like in father. Okay. Next is the last train or bus. The last train or the last bus. When you're out in the evening, especially in a new city, it is crucial to be aware of the schedule for the last train or the last bus to your destination, because missing it could leave you stranded and needing to find alternative and potentially more expensive transportation. You might ask a station attendant, "Excuse me, what time is the last train on the last bus?" The cut train. So let's try to see how your effort is not wasted. Okay, pronunciation wise, it is a voiced sound. You try to, you know, you try to touch this, and if it vibrates, it's voiced. Someone told me that. But yeah, Um, in last, the last train bus, last is a short sound like in cut. You train the hem has a clear diphthong, like in say bus has a short o sound like in cup. The stress is on the last and then on either trans or transit. Sorry for that. I'm not trying to say something about that one. It's train. Sorry for that. It's my mistake. I stand correcting. Corrected. Use, you know, try to see if there's a last train or last bus. Okay. Next, is there a discount for? Again, is there a discount for? Now, many public transport systems offer reduced fares to certain categories or passengers, since it's always worth asking if you really qualify for a discount if you are a student, a senior citizen, a child, or part of a large group. Now, you might ask at the ticket encounters, excuse me, is there a discount for students? The pronunciation is there. You can often blend together in speech, but discount has a stress on the first syllable. This, which a short E sound like in bit. So discount, discount. Again, discount. Alright. Next is keep the change. Keep the change, which is the last one, I think. Yeah. While tipping isn't a standard practice in most public transport systems, when buying tickets, there might be instances where you are paying a driver for a bus fare with cash and you might offer to keep the change. If it's a small amount and you appreciate their service, this is the most common in some informal transport settings rather than large train or, you know, whereas um, tons something like that. So yeah, pronunciation wise, keep change. Keep has a long e sound like in C, so keep, not kept, but keep. It's a long e sound. There is also the title that has been in the Korea for the past few hours. This is more common in some informal transport, suggesting that rather than a large hate cup, we are capable of loving each other. All right. Okay, so those are the first set of, I not the first set, but yeah, those are the set of new phrases when it comes to public transport vocabulary. A day ticket, a weekly pass, the last train, is there a discount for? Keep the change, keep it really, you know, really tightly, lightly. It should be on a voice to each sound. Okay, all right. Okay, let's have the next one. Let's start immediately with another, table highlighting the phrase with its IP transcription. Then we have the other members slowly getting in. Okay? All right. Okay, let's try to read the sentences that we have discussed. This one as it is. So I've added some few information right here and there. So, just for him to be vigilant at all times. Okay? All right. Let's have a practice drill. We'll say these words. I mean, these sentences or phrases on their own. So I highlighted the phrases that we've talked about for the sentence. I'm gonna go with you. But yeah, listen to me as how I say it. I'll buy a day ticket for unlimited travel. I'll buy a day ticket for unlimited travel. A weekly pass is cheaper if you have traveled often. A weekly pass is different if you have traveled often. We need to catch the last train. We need to catch the last train. Thank you, you can keep the change. Thank you, you can keep the change. Okay. And that is, I think, the last set of phrases. Am I correct? Am I right? So again, so far, um, just to recap everything that we did, you released a new single, Gnarly. So we try to we try to we try to connect relatable experiences when we talk someone, whether it's in conversational English, it's for English for travel, all those kind of areas. We try to be relatable on that. So you say something other than that, like releasing dates of something that you like, something of those sort. Okay, let's try to do that. So before that, let's go over again one more time with all the words, terms, and phrases that we have tap into. Let's start with the public transport vocabulary, the terms. Let's just try to read each term slowly and then more naturally. Okay, you say it with me. All right. Bus stop, bus stop. Train station. Ticket machine, ticket machine. Single ticket, single ticket. Return ticket, return ticket. Platform number, platform number. Departure board, departure board. Underground, underground, or yeah, underground. Get on, get on, get off, get off. Okay, that's the first thought words. We also have Oyster card, Oyster card. Tap up, validate, validate. Fare inspector, fare inspector. Ticket inspector, ticket inspector. Underground. One more time, underground. Okay? All right. Let's immediately move on to the different phrases, right? Let's read this one once again so that until you are satisfied with everything. But for now, let's try to rest him. Okay? Let's try to read the phrases first. Excuse me, is this seat free? How often do the buses run on Sundays? Which way to the nearest taxi rank? For example, um, uh, we say these words as these phrases. Let me try to read those phrases again. Excuse me, is this seat free? How often do the buses run on Sundays? Which way to the nearest taxi rank? Is this the right bus for the museum? Where should I change for the airport? Those things. Okay. I shouldn't have been surprised. But yeah, let's try to focus on that one. And then another set of phrases, we say it as like this: I'll buy a day ticket for unlimited travel. A weekly pass is cheaper if you travel often. We need to catch the last train. Is there a discount for students? Thank you. Thank you. You can keep the change. Okay, that's the first set of phrases. Now, same pattern, same practice. Let's have a practice drill. Again, what I'm gonna ask you to do is that you repeat the sentences already. Okay? We repeat the sentences. So, yeah, I've already mentioned this one. And those are, I think, the things that we will be talking on public transport pronunciation. Okay. If you want to, go over all the things that we have checked, this video will always be up, on the website. You can go over the video library and try to find this particular live video. Okay? Are we clear on that? Maybe any kind of clarifications that you might want to ask? It's very important that we address your clarification. Any issues before really allowing them to deep dive into the styles, into the martial arts. So we should strengthen their foundational skills or their basic skills. Okay? All right. So, no matter how hard the process might be, we try to if they should try to understand because it's for the greater good. It's for their good as well as the greater good. Okay? All right. So, all those things that I've mentioned, just always take those things into considerations. All right? Okay. All right, everyone. That brings us to, the end of our session, focusing on public transport vocabulary and its pronunciation. Now, so far in our series for English for Travel, we have already tapped into three different areas for this one. We've talked about airport vocabulary pronunciation. We've also talked about hotel check-in vocabulary. And again, for today's session, we focused on public transport pronunciation, which is a success. Congrats. I think everybody's ready to leave. Well, no, maybe, but yeah, everyone. I've already mentioned it many times. I've mentioned it every time I come up. I do the session. I already always mention this one that when trying to really master the pronunciation of words, terms, phrases, you of course have to do with the basics. You also should have, you should have, how to navigate the IPA transcriptions because despite that a word is really not familiar to you, it's the first time you see it. But if you try to read the IPA transcription, if you know how to, then you can pronounce the word exactly as it should be. Okay? That's why IPA transcription is there to guide us into how to properly pronounce different words, different terms, different phrases. Okay? All right. Okay. Again, we have covered everything from buying tickets, right? We've talked about those one. What are those type of tickets that we have included here? We have a single ticket and a return ticket. Those two types of tickets um we have discussed for today's session. So we pretty much covered a lot of things for today. Don't be worried about anything. We've covered everything from buying tickets, from finding your way around stations to asking for directions and understanding common announcements. Remember that always be reminded. No? Always be reminded that clear pronunciation is key to effective communication. So keep practicing these words and phrases out loud. Consistent practice is always the key, everyone. If you are, if you can practice but you don't have the motivation to do so, it might hinder your learning. All right? So let's try to focus on one thing, and that's in making the life of foreigners more convenient. Okay? All right. So this is the things that we've talked about. Are we clear on that? I think we're clear on that. Okay? In our upcoming sessions, we will be moving on to other essential topics like ordering food and drinks and dealing with emergencies while traveling because that is also very important. So do you have any final questions about any of the public transport vocabulary we discussed today? Questions, clarifications? If not, then we will done. We are already done for today. Good job, everyone. Very excellent for another great session. I look forward to continuing our English for travel journey with you next session. Safe travels on all your future adventures. Goodbye and have a good night ahead. Have a great night ahead, everyone. Bye bye.